it says record to the cloud, so I'm assuming, I don't know which cloud it's recording to, but I just want to welcome all of you guys. How many of you have, and I can't see everybody. I do see a few people here, and then of course the other people don't have their videos on. The more you participate, the better, the more you're going to get out of this. But how many of you have participated already as a contest chair or a contest chief judge? I know Dave Morgenthaler has, Philip has, Michelle. We've got a lot of experience here. I do not want you guys to be contest chairs or chief judges. Okay? What do you think I want you guys to do if you have experience as a chief judge or a contest chair and you're leading an area or a division? You're talking, Hetty, but you don't have your audio on, so I can't hear you.
Find someone to be your contest chair and your chief judge.
Exactly. And who could help mentor them through their success?
Me.
The people with the experience. So you guys with the experience are the mentors to these individuals, but I do not want you running these contests. You're already busy enough with all the other things. And what is the motto of Toastmasters? We are where leaders are
made.
Not where leaders get to keep running all the programs all the time. We're about honing and building leaders. You guys are already leaders who have some experience. Your job is to find others who do not have experience and get them to build experience. Will they do it perfectly if they've had no experience in doing this before?
No.
So, Philip, isn't that a difficult thing to do, to allow other people to take on an important job when you don't know if they're going to do a great job?
Yes, it is.
It is. Our
is.
job is to have faith. Our job is to trust. Our job is to mentor those new people so that they learn these skills, hone these skills, and get good. And if they miss anything, you guys can step in there to ask questions or help out. But you don't take over the program. You allow them to lead. That's how leaders are made. Would y'all all agree that
Yes.
often we're thrown into the deep end of the pool and then asked, do we know how to swim?
Mm-hmm.
So I want you guys to identify the people in your clubs who are at level 3, who have some experience. That doesn't mean they have to have a lot of experience. They could be at level 3 and they have a level 4 elective that needs to be done, that is managing a project, or a level 5 elective that they can do. Even at level 3, they can start managing a project, and it could be their HPL, a high performance leadership project. They will need these projects and pathways. So they can use these the contests as an opportunity to lead, whether it's as a chief judge or whether it's as the contest chair themselves. And they're building teams to make that happen. So that's where I want to start, is I want you guys to rethink leadership. Your job is not to run these contests. Your job is to find someone who can run it and find people who don't have experience, or at least much experience. But what do they have?
Desire.
They have a desire, or they may not even have the desire, Jackie. You called them and said, hey, I see you as my contest chair. I know you don't have a lot of experience, but I will support you in learning these skills on how to run a great contest. And I know many of you have run many great contests, and I want you to use these skills. So I'm going to go ahead and put my PowerPoint program up. It'll keep me more focused on this program. But these contests, the area, let me just ask Yi Ting here, and I want you to unmute Yi Ting. Correct me if I'm wrong, the area contests cannot be hybrid. They must be online only, correct, for our district?
Yes, that's correct.
So what has happened is our district has this year decided that for this year, that's how it is. So if you are running an area contest, you cannot do it as a hybrid. So it's not a live contest, it is online. And I know that some people have thought, oh, I'm going to have this great area contest that's going to be live. No, can't be done. It's going to be online only. Well, it'll be live, but online only. The division directors, which there's not many of us, We're doing the hybrid one. So I'm not putting a majority of the process here of this training on how to run a successful hybrid contest, as Yi Ting said, because that's 5 of us who have to do this. But the whole point is that we do have to do that well and make sure that it's fair to everybody. So whether you're in person or you're doing it online, it has to be fair. And who gets to decide if it's fair?
They do.
They do, the contestants themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to those contestants, though, to make sure if they're going to be doing their contest online, say, I'm going to do my contest competition as an online one. I'm not going to be in person, even though you're doing the in-person division contest. I'm only going to be online. It is our job to work together to make sure that they look the best they can, but it's also their job to make sure that they've got the best lighting, the best equipment. They've decided what the best position, how far away to stand to present, what that's going to look like. It's up to them, just as like it's up to them to write a successful speech and practice it so that it's good enough. Now, will it be the same as presenting in person? No, but that is the way it is this year. So it will be hybrid. I recommend, if people can, do it in person. That's the best way to do it. But if you can't, you certainly can do it online. And we want to make sure you're successful. That's what we division directors, actually not the division directors, who's going to be responsible for making sure that it goes well for that experience. Jackie, it's not you as the division director. Who's
No.
going to be responsible?
The chairs.
It's the contest chair that you will find. They're the ones who are going to make sure that this works. It's going to be their job. It's just our job to support them. So that's what we're going to work on. So let me go ahead and share, and I'm going to go through my presentation. And I want you guys to stop me as we go along and let me know if you have any questions, or if I share something that you don't agree with, let me know and we can talk about it. Usually it's a miscommunication more than anything. But what I wanted to focus on mostly, let me see here, let me put my slideshow up. Slideshow, let's do current. So, all right. I mentioned earlier that contest season has a lot of challenges. Let's see here. Let's start with the beginning. There we go. I've talked about my division. We've got most of our contests already set up, but we do not have contest chairs yet. That's the next step. When should we be finding contest chairs? What do you guys think? Now, the contests aren't going to be till next year, although some of you may be planning for contests for December. You can choose to do that. Now, the area contest cannot be in December. As a matter of fact, the area contest cannot be in January. They can be in February. They can be in March, but they need to be at least 20 to 30 days, approximately 3 to 4 weeks before the division contest. Why is that important?
Prep the winners.
We need to prep the winners and give them a chance and time to know this. Now, they already know when the Division K contest is going to be. So if you're competing and you plan to get all the way up to division, you know when that's going to be, and that's going to be potentially a live one. So if you're competing, you already know, am I available on that Saturday, April 20th? And if I'm not available in person, at least am I willing to do it online? And they should know that up front. But get your contest chairs as soon as possible so they can start making plans. The contest season, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong here, is January through April, preparing ourselves for the big district contest that will be coming up in May. So clubs can host their own contest at any time. If they want to have their contest in November, they can do it. So they can do it at any time and in any format, as long as it's completed at least 2 to 3 weeks before the next level contest. And that means if like I saw somebody who had an area contest that was coming up in January, and I thought, I don't think you could do that. So it needs to be at least February. So they may want to rethink those dates, but that means the clubs need to make sure that they get theirs in early enough. So communicate with your clubs about what's happening. And when is the best time to let your clubs know that you want them to compete, that you would like every club to either send a representative or have a contest themselves so that they have representatives for both contests? When should we be talking that up?
Right now.
Before the holidays. Yeah, because how many of you would agree not a lot gets done during the holidays?
Yes.
So if you can at least put that idea in their head, I want you guys to think about, are you going to be having your own contest, or will you be electing or nominating people to represent you in the two different contests that we've got, the international speech and the humorous speech contest? One of those, only one of them, has a requirement of a level of achievement before you can be in the contest. Which one is that? Do you have to have any achievement, or could you be a brand new Toastmaster today and be in the
Club
humorous
ma-
speech contest
club.
tomorrow?
6 months.
No, club level, they have to be at least a level 2.
So at club level, but level 2 for what, Philip? For both speeches or just the international speech?
International speech.
Only
humorous.
the international speech has that requirement. Now, you could also be an experienced Toastmaster from the past and have completed at least, what was it? At least 6 speeches from the old program.
Yes,
And I believe that still would qualify. If they're an old Toastmaster and they rejoin Toastmasters, they could compete even if they haven't started Pathways yet, if they've achieved at least 6 speeches in the past. But that's only international speech. The humorous speech, you could start today and be in the speech contest tomorrow if you have a humorous speech, if your club allows it. You know, it's up to the clubs. But and then, of course, they have to represent the clubs at the areas and try to get as many of your clubs involved as possible. And if they don't have a contest, at least they can nominate people as long as they qualify. Now, they're perfect. They keep in mind, make sure you've got those contest chairs in place as soon as possible. I would say no later than the 2 weeks before Christmas, so that when January starts up again, these contest chairs already have a plan in place for how they're going to get things done. So, any questions on that so far? So what I want you guys to be focusing on is find less experienced people who will say, I've never been a judge in a contest, to judge a club contest, to get formal training as a judge and learn to be a judge. What benefit is it to people to learn to be a judge? What's in it for them? How much money do they get paid?
0.
Yeah, they may get some incentives, but yeah, they don't. But what do they get?
Practice.
Practice and amazing experience, Jackie, at knowing what do judges look for that takes 2 great speakers and said, this one is better than that one. What is it that makes that happen? Because how many of us has ever heard someone give an evaluation and say, oh, I couldn't even think of anything I would add that they could do better? There is always things they could do to do better. And good judges notice those little things from excellent speakers who do almost everything great. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I'm this great speaker. There's many things I could do better at, especially in any given presentation. So your feedback is always helpful. Judges is a great way to learn a more formal way to how do you judge great speakers? And how do you get to be a better evaluator of speakers? Judging is a great way to do that. And how do you get better at speaking? Be a judge of other speakers. These are great ways to do it. So next, contest season, like I said, is January through April. But we want to make sure that the area contests, which are online only, are all done no later than probably mid-March. I know the deadline on the website, on the TMD website, says that the club contest has to be done by January and the area contest has to be done by the end of February. That's not necessarily 100% true. There is some flexibility, but it's a guideline. So I would say make sure, though, that your area contests are done before probably mid-March. Some of my area contests, since my Division K contest is not happening until April 20th, if you want to do your contest the first week of April, I could approve that. You know, because it just needs to give me at least 2 or 3 weeks before my contest to get all that information ahead of time. But I'd like it all done through by March, at some point in March. So that's mine. But some of you other have your division contest coming up in either early April or possibly even in late March. You have got to get your area contest done long before then. Any questions or comments about that?
I have a question
Yes, Jackie.
about the division contest that will be hybrid only.
Mhm.
No, that's not right.
Hybrid only means in person and online. So in other words, it has to be a hybrid contest. You can't do just in person or just online. It must be both options for that, although area contests can only be online.
I see. That means that the division director will have to find a place to meet in person.
Or the chair, the contest chair
chair,
finds
yes.
that place.
I
And they
see.
may have a committee of people to do it. So you don't have to do it, but you want to make sure your chair gets it done. Keep in mind, our job is to delegate these responsibilities to others. Your job, Jackie, is just to make sure is your chair getting it done, but it's their job to get it done.
Understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this should not be your responsibility. You've got plenty of other things to focus on. Another thing that's important is you want the contest chair and the chief judge to be very familiar with all the contest resources that are available on TMD 55. And I'm going to ask Ava to put a section on the home page that says contests, so that you can just open up tmd55.org and see a tab for contests, and everything you're going to need to know about contests should be there. So that it's right now, it's not that way, and I'm going to have that changed. Yiting, you have your hand up or a question, comment?
A comment to address Jackie's comment that yes, it is important for division directors to be aware that you do need to identify a physical venue for the hybrid meeting, and that's why I reported on the budget regarding the venue. So the budget, we have $650 for Austin area to be utilized by 3 division directors, and we have $650 venue rental fees that are approved for San Antonio area as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Philip.
One thing that's really important and I found really helped last year, because we had a situation, whoever is your chief judge and contest chair need to print out the rules and have them in front of them, especially with a Zoom type meeting or hybrid, so that they can turn to it immediately without scrolling, without going off the page, and therefore be able to make an immediate ruling when they go into conference.
Philip, that's a great idea. I want to keep in mind, as a leader, you want to let the person who's leading decide how they're going to do this. You may have some young person who says, I don't believe in, paper, and I don't want to do things on paper. I want to just use my let's say my iPad, and I've got the rules right here on my iPad, and I'm going to scroll through these rules. They have the right to do it their way, as long as it gets done. As long as they have the resources in front of them, what those resources look like, whether they're on paper or, now I agree that a lot of people like to have in hand. I've got the rule book right here in hand. If I had the rule book right here in hand on my iPad, that's just as valid. So, but they do have to have a solution to the problem, but that is one solution, which is printing out and having that in front of you. So, but having it available to you at all times is the key, Philip. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That's what I meant. That
I knew that.
It's readily available to that individual.
Yeah, and readily available could look like, I will email this to you and it'll be in your hands in 1 minute. That's readily available as well. So allow the persons responsible to come up with their own way to get the job done or get the results. That way, it's best for everybody. So
true.
And I just brought that up because you brought up a great point, Philip, that often when we're leading, we want people to do it in a way that we know that works. And you might say, well, I know it works if you have a written copy of the rule book. And it's like, no, you just have to have a copy of the rule book. It doesn't have to be a written one. But I do agree with you. You allow them to come up with their best way to solve their problems. So thank you, Philip, for bringing that up. And number 1, always ask for help. I cannot tell you how many times I deal with crises because people come to me after it's become a crisis instead of dealing with it proactively. The moment you start to see there's a little problem. And the main reason is because we sometimes think, oh, I don't want to trouble them. They've got so much on their plate. I'll just try to figure this out. And then they wait until it becomes a major crisis and then say, I haven't found a way to figure this out. And now I need you to help me clean this mess up. It's like, come to me early on. Always try to get some help beforehand. And this is your contest chairs, Jackie. So if you have a contest chair who doesn't know how to do something, Don't have them wait until it becomes a crisis before they come to you and, well, I didn't know how to handle that. It's like, well, then you call me early and let's work this through.
Right.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
let them know you're here, or their mentor. If you've assigned a mentor to them,
Mhm.
then say you should go to that mentor and ask for help before it becomes a crisis.
Got
So
it.
be proactive. So let's look at some of these resources that you need to know, because I want you guys to become familiar with them. And they're all on the TMD 55 website. The first thing you see are the major buttons. What do contestants need to know? What do visitors need to know? And the number one, what do the contest organizers need to know? There are buttons for them. Those are currently on the website, but I want them even easier to find. It's under members. I want us to have our own tab just for contests, because that's not really clear. What is the membership tab about? Because Toastmasters contest is not just a members issue. That's a separate issue entirely in my book. So I'm going to ask for that to be made more clear. So and then when you go to the resources, for those who are contest planners, organizers, there's a whole series of steps with incredible numbers of resources, including an Excel spreadsheet you can use to be organized. They have PDF versions of all sorts of information, materials to bring to your contest, a task list, role trackers, how to chair a contest. So Jackie, if you have someone who's brand new and says, I don't know how to chair a contest, we will teach you how to do it. There's a document that tells you how to chair a contest. So, and whether this is, Jackie, your area contest with your online, or the hybrid one, which is going to be a very different type of contest. You got to make sure it's fair to everybody.
Yes.
So, and the one thing I like about the online contest, because I told my area directors this, I said, you can change the date as long as it's done very early on. But if you wait to change the date of your contest till January, that could be a problem. But I know we want your dates right now, so it could be a temporary one, but you better finalize that date fairly soon. But the good thing is online seminars or online contests are easy to change. Whereas something, if you have a venue, you can't just change that venue. So that's good, but get this done before the end of this year. Finalize those dates, and so everybody can plan on being available if you're going to be in this contest. The next thing is, let's see here, event duration. Also, there's all this whole thing about predicting out how to deal with what are the things that come up for international speech, the humorous speech contest. The first two here are the speeches we're doing. There's a great document on how to put on a good show. So for your Toastmaster, you know, they got to make sure they put on a good show. All these people are going to be involved. And the most important thing is invite your judges. What I'll tell you guys right now that Yi-Ting and I are working on is a list of all the potential judges that you could call on to fill these roles, which generally is anyone who has finished a level 3 or close to finishing a level 3 should be thinking of level 4 projects or working on their HPL. These people should consider being judges even if they've never been a judge before. Will they get training? Yes. Is there training information already online? Yes. So they could do this right now if they wanted to, but we will offer training. And then the chief judge is going to make sure they have the training they need to be successful. At a club level, you don't have to be a perfect judge. You just have to learn how to basically do it. Once we get at the area level, we want some judges who've got a little bit of experience, who've got some good training. But definitely at the division level, we need some sharp people. We need to make sure we've got some really sharp judges there. But at the area contest, you could even have people who are brand new judges, just kind of learning their thing. But make sure you've got enough, because if one person doesn't quite know what they're doing, it can be offset by all the other people who do know what they're doing. That's why you want enough judges as well. Any questions about this resource? And I know Dawn has a question. I see your hand raised. By the way, I can't see everybody. That's why just raise your hand and let me know or interrupt me. So Dawn.
Thank you so much. So while I was in the process of asking this, Yi-Ting put something in the chat, but my question was, when we're having the mandatory hybrid contest for the division, how do we handle the judges? Do the judges have to be in person? Do they have to be online? How are we going to be more discreet? It's a little bit more evident when they're in person, right? Because they have a folder, they have forms. I know that they're not supposed to sit directly next to someone so that they can read their notes or whatever. I'm just trying to
That's a
ask.
great
the
question. Yeah. So
How are
Yuting,
we-
would you answer that question? Do judges have to be in person? Do they have to be all online? Or can they choose which way they want to be?
Yes, I can answer that question. So when we promote the hybrid, the fundamental idea is that we encourage all the judges and the contestants to be in person. And however, in any situation, if it becomes very difficult for the judges and the contestants to be in person, they can be online. So using the TI convention example, that happened in August in Bahamas. Basically, most people are in person, maybe just one is online. But the judges, so we do want them to be in person as much as they can.
And we want to make this a very social event as well. So we want to make it fun for people to make the effort to be there in person. We want these to be big, successful contests. I want to have at least 50 people, 60 people, maybe more at my division contest, which is pretty remarkable in person trying to do that. Now it's easy to get them online.
Right.
But keep in mind, online or not, the quality has to still be good. The judge has to be able to see all the contestants fairly, so that even the people presenting in person will be on camera as well for any potential judges.
So in that case, that means when you identify the venue, you will notify your judges, identify the in-person judges first, and anyone who already knows that they can't be there in person for the venue you have chosen, you may want to find another judge. I think in the last situation, let's say the judges you have found, and for the last minute, they could not make it, and they must be online. That could be permitted.
And as you guys know, the division contests are high-level contests. The people who make it to that level are doing great jobs. You're going to hear wonderful speeches. They're very entertaining. And we want the best judges, the best speakers. And that means we need to have great area contests. And that's why so those judges might move from being a judge in an area contest to being a judge in the division contest. That's something that we could do as well. Yiting, you still have your hand up, so do you have other
yes.
comments?
Yeah, I want to continue to comment about the judges situation. You want to consider if you have judges not 100% in person, it's more challenging and difficult for you to do the judges briefing and all of that too. So it becomes a whole lot more complex. Yeah, so just things to consider.
And you can do the briefings well before the contest. They don't have to be done the day of the contest. If you can get everybody briefed the day before the contest, that's something that could be done as well. So there's flexibility in those areas. We have several other hands that are up, and I can't identify. I know Livia's got her hand raised.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that, Bart. So what I normally do if I'm the contest chair, whichever, doesn't matter which side I am or both sides, whether I'm helping the judges or helping the contestants, I usually send them the handbook first, and then we have a meeting like about a day or two before the contest, ask if there are any questions, and then the day of, our briefing is a lot shorter, but we have more details when we're all there together, but they've already prepared for being a judge or being a contestant that week. So I usually start with the handbook, and then I go ahead and send, and then we have our meeting, and we will do our early briefing. And then when we're there, we do a shorter briefing to answer questions. So I love that process.
Absolutely. And getting help on these processes, doing them early and coming up with a system that works well for you. Everybody can choose their own system. You just need to find something that's going to get the results you want. That's the key. So that's a great way of doing it, Livia. So thank you for presenting that. We had a couple other hands up and I can't see who they are. So whoever you are, speak now or forever hold your peace. Any hands up? Two participants raised hands. Who are they? One person speak. You have to unmute yourself. Yes. Hetty.
This is Hetty, and I only have one club that has access to Zoom. So for my area contest, do you all have a Zoom line that I can use? Nobody else
We can
has one.
solve that problem. Yes, it's easy to solve that. The district has several Zoom accounts. I have a personal Zoom account. Many clubs have their own Zoom accounts. So we can set that up very easily. You just want to plan that out early enough. But yes, that's how you would do it for those areas.
Okay, who do I notify to ask for?
Either me or Yi Ting would be the first people to ask, and then we'll see who's the contest chairs that are in charge. But we can get you those accounts set up. So we'll set those up for you. Just let us know
Thank you
early
very
enough.
much.
Sure. And those clubs that don't use Zoom normally, if they need a little bit of coaching on how to do a contest on Zoom, we're more than happy to help them, because there are things to know about how far you are from the camera, how do you make sure people can hear you, those little things. We can help you with that.
Thank you.
Other hand? So I know we're getting a lot of messages in there. Yi Ting, if you see anything in there that you want to bring up specifically, please let us know. I see that Dawn says, what about other equipment for hybrid contests? Let us know what your equipment needs are. If you have needs, we can help you in resourcing those needs, but we do need to know those as early as possible. So try to find out if there are particular needs you're going to have for your division contests. Let us know what those needs are going to be so we can help your chair get those resources they'll need. It's up to the chair ultimately to make sure they have the resources, but our job is to support you guys in making sure you get what you need to be successful, whether area or division contest. So the next section here, if we don't have another question or comment, contest planning resources. There's some incredible
Art?
resources. Yes, yes.
Dave
Yes.
Morgenthaler has had his hand up.
Okay, I can't see that. So please, Dave, yes.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First, recruit more of everything. Let me give you an example. I recruited and had signed up 13 judges. Day of the contest, 6 of them couldn't make it.
Oh.
So we barely got by with the bare minimum of judges to hold the contest. So you always want to recruit at least 50% more than what the book says. And that's outlined in the rule book, how many people you have to have at various levels. The point coming next to that is be careful how early you ask somebody to be a contest official, a judge, timer, vote counter, or ballot counter. If you do it now, they're going to forget it a long time before you even get to come. I'd say 6 weeks out, the club contest is usually easier to fill, but so don't ask too early.
Constant
Always
communication
verify.
is important. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
always
just assume
verify.
since somebody committed before Christmas and now you're in February and they say, oh, I don't remember committing to that. Yeah. Or now I've got something going on that date and I'm not available. These things happen all the time, Dave. As you know, in project management, things never go as planned. You always have to have contingencies. That's why I always have a couple extra judges in your pocket, even if you don't need them. Say, hey, would you be available to be at the contest so that in case we do need you, you're there? So even if they haven't committed to being a judge at that point. So get some key people there. We've got some hands up. Yi Ting, do you see who those people are? Since I can't see.
I do not see anyone.
Wilma,
Yeah, go
Wilma
ahead.
had her hand up a minute ago, but she
Oh.
lowered it. I don't know if.
Oh,
her-
okay. Well,
if
y'all just
her
interrupt
answer-
me if you need to. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So I want to.
okay, so Bart,
Yes.
this is Wilma. This is Wilma.
Okay.
And I just wanted to build on what Ed was saying, and that is when you do recruit, if you're going to recruit judges or sergeants at arms, any of your team, if you're going to recruit them early, do like people do in a wedding and send them a save the date calendar request. Just send it blasted in an email to those who have already agreed. Thank you for agreeing to serve on December 15th or January 31st for this contest. Send a save the date so that they will kind of have that. And if you can attach a calendar, like a Google Calendar request, it'll pop on their calendar anyway.
Excellent. Yeah, find a method that's going to work to remind people of the
Exactly.
commitments, and always do we're 1 month out, so I'm just checking in with you. We're 2 weeks out, so I'm just checking with you. We're 1 week out, so I'm just checking.
Right
These
on.
type of things will ensure that whatever could go wrong, probably you have time to fix it once you find out, oh, they're no longer available and I was counting on them. So, and that's happened with chief judges, that's happened with all sorts of different people last minute. Dave Morgenthaler, also well experienced. So Dave.
One other note that just came into my head, the chief judge and the contest chair need to decide who is going to recruit for what positions.
Yes.
Speakers and contestants, that's the easy part. Timer, that's an easy part. The sergeant at arms is the person that usually gets left out of the equation. So it can be either the contest chair or the chief judge recruits the sergeant at arms, who has to be at the briefing.
And that could be however they want to do it, but they have to have a plan for how it's going to get done.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Dave, is make sure they know who's ultimately responsible for making sure these people have those roles filled and are clear about what those roles are. So, because how many times have we ever said, oh, I thought you were going to do it. No, I thought you were going to do it. And it's like, so yeah, you don't want to be in that mess. So make it really clear at the beginning, but that's all about the chair. The chair's job is to make sure they know who's responsible for everything. And they make that clear to everybody. So it's all about communication. As you can see here in the contest planning training, there are great videos out there. There's all sorts of great information out there that's going to help you on mastering this skill. We don't expect you to be perfect. We just expect you to make the effort and do the best job you can and learn the lessons as you go. That's really the key here. That's what we're all about in Toastmasters, is learning these lessons. There's even scripts that spell out exactly what you should say. You don't just make this stuff up. You have to actually read the words that have been written and developed over 20 or 30 years on how to do these things properly. And there's scripts for virtual contests as well as scripts for the in-person contests. So, but there's lots of these and they're all online, all on the website. So get to know the website resources. So, including all the documentation. There are release forms for using people's videos or using their photos. There's evaluation forms. There's post-conference evaluation forms or contests. So we want to be able to evaluate what the lessons learned were, and those are already written out. So these last pieces I want to go through is what I've learned in trials and tribulations of all my contest experiences. The first thing is, in Lessons for Leaders, is do not do this yourself. I said it at the beginning, I'm saying it now. It's all about who is in charge, and that would be the contest chair. They create their own plan for how it's going to look, but they work with you as an area director and a division director on creating a great event. But it is their project, so let them own it. Now, Chris and I used to talk about how difficult it is to trust that people are getting the job done. Well, the best way to trust somebody is you don't trust them blindly. You want to make sure that they actually have a plan for how they're going to get it done and can explain to you clearly what their plan is so you can trust them and work with them. But you need your chairs to have a plan. Don't just trust them blindly. And do they need to communicate with you regularly? Is that helpful for your area contest and your division contest? Does your chair need to communicate with you? Regularly, yes, especially about a crisis, and preferably before it ever becomes a crisis. And the whole point here in Toastmasters is it's not going to go smoothly. That's rare when these projects go smoothly, right, Dave? But the point is, you got to have a plan and get yourself to a place when things don't go smoothly. Don't get upset or stressed out. Just try to get to a place where you can accept the fact it is what it is. You just lost your chief judge and the contest is in 3 days. And calm yourself and then come up with a plan. Well, how do I handle that? What do I do? This is all a lesson about how to notice, own, and fix whatever problems come up. And one thing we want to do as a planner is to always have contingency planning. Be prepared for when things might not go well. And that doesn't mean you have to have the answers, but then you could go to other people who do have those answers, ultimately to myself or Yi Ting, if you can't get those answers from anyone else. But there is one person that's even above what Yi Ting and I know who can get you an answer that's almost always the best answer. Who is that one person you could turn to who could answer a question for you? And the hint is it's not a person. Who can tell me? Oh, just unmute yourself.
The
The
website.
rule book.
Well, it's Toastmasters International itself.
Yeah, it's website.
Well, even sometimes it's hard to find on the website the information. And how many of you sometimes get frustrated that you know it's on the website, but you can't find the information? Just get on the phone and call Toastmasters International. Generally, I've never had a problem being more than one person in line for getting an answer to a question. I think there was once I didn't get an answer for a long time, but generally I almost always get an answer within minutes of calling the Toastmasters International line, and they know what the answer is that represents what Toastmasters wants. So in the end, they are the final say, and you can actually utilize them as a great resource. So always call Toastmasters International if you can't get an answer from somewhere else. Someone was dragging my name through the mud the other day saying, I've never gotten back to them about this information they were expecting, and they've tried to reach me by email, and they've tried to reach me many times, and they haven't gotten back, and I haven't gotten back to them. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't sound like me. And I found out they didn't even know how to reach me. And so they hadn't been reaching out to me, but they were upset. And in the end, I said, why didn't you just call Toastmasters? That's what I would have had to done to get that answer. I would have to call them for you. You just call them and get the answer. That's what you should do. Another thing is, I want you guys as leaders to all remember this: detach from the result. It doesn't have to be a perfect contest. It just has to be a good contest. And you want them to do the best job possible, but it's about the experience. It's about the mistakes. It's about the journey. It's not about the destination. So we're not expecting perfection. What we want is excellence. But what we need is a good contest. Would y'all agree? We need a contest that's going to be fair, that's going to be valid. So in Toastmasters' eyes. Our job as leaders, all of you guys, is to give positive reinforcements to all the parties involved. Be positive, be complimentary, and when they make mistakes, be forgiving and grateful that they're making the effort, because how many of us get paid to do all this work? I mean, I know Chris Miller gets paid a lot, but how much do the rest of us get paid to do all this Toastmasters work? Right? So we don't get paid for any of this. Just an occasional thank you, maybe an award, but we're just all volunteers here. And we have a life and priorities that are outside of Toastmasters. Would y'all agree? So you want people to do the best job they can, but life can get in the way. Be forgiving, but always grateful. Some other lessons for leaders: if you don't have the ability to trust, make sure that you get their plan from them. As long as you have a plan and can clarify that it's feasible, and if it doesn't look feasible to you, ask questions, and make sure once they have a plan that you collect regular updates and progress reports from them. So it's all about communication. Oh, I spelled this word wrong. Contingency planning. Always be prepared. You can see I did this in a very quick way. So detach from the result, positive reinforcement. We talked about that. So let's move on to this piece here. Make sure that if they do have a plan, that it's a SMART plan. Is everybody familiar with SMART, the acronym? That plan needs to be specific, measurable, achievable. It needs to be relevant to the plan and the success we're going for, and it has to have a timetable. I've mentioned to you guys several times the idea of Parkinson's law, and this is just the fact that tasks will expand in our lives to fill the time allotted, and it's just human nature to procrastinate. And I've had many talks with people like Chris Miller and other leaders who get frustrated because people have agreed to do things and then they don't do what they said they were going to do. That's what most human beings do. So accept that, be understanding and empathetic, but our job is to keep them on track. So we have to keep checking in with them. We have to follow up. I know Umberto had mentioned how many clubs haven't paid their dues yet. It's like, it is October. It's the end of October. Has someone not called them on this yet? When should that first call have gone out, Chris, to a club that has not paid enough dues yet? Let's say they've only paid seven members, and when do we need to be calling that club and finding out what's going on?
You're asking me? Yeah,
Yeah.
what I've told my my AD, one of my ADs, we had this very same conversation. So she's had a conversation with them immediately upon, giving it a little bit of time and seeing the performance or the distinguished performance report. And then we'll have a plan to reach out to the club, find out what their intentions are, if we can help them recruit, if they're leaning more towards bowing out of Toastmasters. And at that point, we'll interject and select another club or a host of clubs that are in our area or division and try to marry those together and see if there's a cultural fit, a location fit, a timing fit, so that in fact, we don't lose clubs or members rather.
And Chris, before we go all there, all I'm asking about is it's coming up. We're getting to the near end of September, and you're looking at this report, and this club has not paid for even 7 members yet. So do we know they're not going to pay on time? No, but what could you do? You call the club and you ask what their intentions are, which is the first thing you said is, hey, I noticed we're getting close to the deadline here and I hadn't seen these memberships paid. Do y'all have a plan for how that's going to happen? I'd have to say the most important thing I ever learned in my life in business was that people will avoid paying bills until the last minute or until they're forced to do so. And sometimes they just forget. But people will pay if you call and remind them and you ask what their plan is. So always call and find out. If you think someone's not moving forward in their plan for their contest, and there's a possibility there could be problems in the future because you're not seeing progress, check in with them by just asking questions and say, hey, I noticed you hadn't filled in your sergeant at arms yet, and we're a month out from the contest. I realize this isn't a crisis yet, but I was wondering if you have a plan for how that's going to get done. So all I'm doing is asking questions. I'm not saying they're not doing their jobs. Does everybody understand where I'm going with that? So as leaders, try never to make them wrong. Just ask questions to see if they have a plan. And that's gently encouraging. And thank you, Chris, for presenting that, because we're gently encouraging them to move forward with their plan when we're not seeing the progress we'd like to see. Dave, how many times have you ever run a contest and not seen that progress that you had hoped to see?
And then it has to connect.
Is somebody speaking? Have a comment? No. I can't see who's speaking, but I know they're not speaking to us. So, but there is no perfect plan, but our job as leaders, and this is your job for all us division directors and all you area directors, you're not doing this project, but you're making sure this project is moving forward. You're checking in with them and making sure you're seeing the progress you should see, working very closely with your planners. Will things go wrong? Yes, but our job is to help them to notice it. And Chris, as you brought up beautifully, notice it early, notice the problem, make sure they own the fact that they may not be acting on certain things they should act on, and come up with a plan for how they're going to fix it. And the contingency planning is all about thinking, what else do I need to know? Have enough judges so that if somebody falls out, like everybody probably here knows that you're going to lose 50% of your members in a year, right? If you're in a club, you lose 50% of your members, no matter how good your clubs are. What do? You always be thinking about bringing in new members and more members. So keep it positive. Make sure you've got a plan for contingencies for when things do get in the way. And don't worry about the final result. As long as we stay focused on the planning, we should expect things to work well, to have a good contest. Now, Yiting and I want to open this up to you guys to ask questions that have come up at this point, if you've got any, about your job. So this is about your job as an area director or division director regarding contests. You don't have to know it all. You just have to get someone who's willing to learn it all. Tracy.
Bart, so what is our role inside of the contest itself? Are we permitted to, I know we can't compete, but as far as like Toastmaster or what's our boundaries there?
You could be a Toastmaster, although if you've done it before, I would say get somebody else to do it so you can let them shine, because we've all seen you shine, Tracy, and we know you can do it. But only as a last minute, if your Toastmaster dropped out at the last minute and someone needs to step in who knows what's going on, yes, you'd be perfect as the Toastmaster to jump in there. But you want to make sure your chair has already chosen a Toastmaster who's well prepared. Although we have seen it happen where someone didn't show up at the last minute and you had to step in. So that could happen. So your job is to be prepared to fill in where needed. And of course, you might be able to be the person to announce the awards. I would probably say you'd be the perfect person to announce the awards since it's your division. So I would say that's your job, is to be that person who gets to do that piece.
Okay, thank you.
Comments or questions on that, Yi-Ting? Anything you want to add?
Oh, I typed that in the chat. District leaders and the candidates running for offices cannot be the contestants.
Yes, and if you want to be a contestant, and and somebody else can add their 2 cents in, I'm sure Livia has a perspective on this. I'd say if you want to run in the contest and yet also be an area director for the next year, don't tell them at that point you want to be an area director. Hold off, be in the contest, get where you can, and then, you know, like once you know, here I am a division director and I was in the contest, but I never planned to be a division director. I never planned to be an area director, and I was that when I first started off in July. But I was in the contest because I wanted to be in the contest, and I thought, well, I could be an area director, but I'll just think about that. But I'm not going to commit right now because I'm going to be in the contest season. I know that happened last year, and even though Barbara did a wonderful job with running that contest and doing her entire division in one day, it was because she had run out of resources and got frustrated and just basically said, well, someone has to take the ball and run with it. And I guess that has to be me. But then she was really, you know, a bit upset about not getting the support she needed to run the type of contest she wanted. Were there options? Yes. But how do you find out what options they are? Come to me, come to Yi-Ting, come to somebody before it becomes a crisis so we can help you in dealing with these crises, so it doesn't have to be all on you. I don't want you burning out over these contests. It's your job to get them to handle these crises, not you. So you should not be the contest chair. You should not be intimately involved in all the planning of this contest. Tracy, Jackie, Chris, you know, our job is to trust that they're going to get this done, and our job is to hold them accountable. That's all.
Bart, remind the ADs so they can remind the clubs the qualification criteria for member speakers.
For the international speech contest?
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure. So international speech, you have to finish a level 2 in Pathways to be a contestant in international speech. There is no requirements for humorous speech. So if they don't qualify and they're upset, say, we'll do it as a humorous speech. Be in that contest. I'd love to have everybody and as many people doing it, but you do have to have some experience in Toastmasters to be in the international speech contest. And no matter what, you have to be a member in good standing and a club in good standing to participate in the contest. So if your club is not in good standing, there's nothing you can do to get them to participate in this contest. They don't qualify. And if they're not a member in good standing, if they're not paid up and done what they were supposed to do, they can't participate, but it does encourage them to be a member and a club in good standing. So I think that's the only things required, Chris.
Yeah, remind me on, is table topics a speaking topic this year?
No, it is humorous speech. It's international speech as always, and we chose humorous speech. So it's just a 5 to 7 minute humorous speech this year.
Okay, thank you.
And that can be anything. Yes, there's no requirements as to what a humorous speech has to look like. So it can be any speech. Yes, Philip.
One other role that I found was really, really important, especially now in the day of Zoom, as you might, is a Zoom master. Because if you do not have, this is the one, I think, one position that it doesn't need, you need someone who's experienced because of all the switches, especially for area contest, which is all virtual. Be able to get them into the separate break rooms, the waiting room and such. And so I think Zoom Master needs to also be included in not only contest chair and chief judge.
And they need to be trained. It can be someone, Philip, who's pretty new and says, I'll be Zoom Master. I don't know what that means exactly, but I'd do it. Okay, well, let's get you trained in. Yeah.
Trained in time so that they're not practicing.
No. You need someone who knows what they're doing. You don't want them making mistakes during the contest. That would result in a bad contest.
Yes.
And that's the one thing we're not going to do is have a bad contest. Yeah, Michelle.
Yes, I have a comment. many times I have club leaders asking me if I have only one contestant in my club, do I need them to give the speech to see if they qualify for timing?
Well, actually, a club can nominate someone to go to their area. They don't even have to compete. A club can just say, hey, we want you to be our international speech person, and why don't you be our humor speech person? They could even like not even have a speech yet and say, sure, I'll do that. And they just have to be prepared for the area. Now, when you have an area contest, if someone is competing, whether in a club contest or an area contest, it is, even if it's just one person for each, it is about the timing. If they go over time, they aren't qualified. Now, could they still be nominated to represent their club to go to area? I believe that that probably can be done. I don't think there's a limitation just because in their club they went over time. Just don't do it in the area. But because in the area, no, if you go over time, you don't win that area. You're disqualified. And but I do want each area to try to have at least 3 contestants in each contest. So that would be ideal. So we've got 5 or 6 clubs. This is the time to find out who could be an international speech person. And really, I want your division or your area directors to encourage those people to be in the area speeches, to be involved. So this is your chance to start building those relationships and doing that. Yiting, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, we have 30 seconds left, so I'm going to make the closing marks. It's quite a good, very interactive training session. Thank you very much, Bart. And we already did the QA throughout the training. Send your questions and what you need to both me and Bart due to limited time and we have. And if we don't get back to your questions, what you need right away, we'll be addressing all of them during our next deck meeting, which is December 9th.
But we'll get back to you, right? There's no reason why we can't get back to you pretty quickly. So, yeah.
I always say that just like, cover all the other things. All right. So everyone has a good rest of Saturday and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate your
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Take care, everybody. And thank you, Bart. Appreciate you.